Welcome to Health Begins Inside, the podcast where we explore the powerful connection between mind, body, and spirit, and how true healing starts from within. I'm Megan, your guide on this journey toward integrative wellness. For our very first episode, we're kicking things off with an incredible guest, someone who has been leading the way in blending conventional medicine with holistic healing for over a decade. Physician assistant Kimberly Shirk, founder of the South Carolina Center for Integrative Medicine, has dedicated her life to creating a space where patients can experience the best of both worlds. Since opening her practice in 2016, she has helped transform lives by combining modern medicine with time-tested holistic practices. And this month, she's celebrating an amazing milestone, 9 years of healing her community. Today, we'll dive into her journey, what led her to integrative medicine, how she's bridging the gap between traditional and alternative approaches, and why this fusion is the future of healthcare. If you believe in healing that goes beyond just treating symptoms, you're in the right place. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's begin. Because true health, well, it begins inside. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first podcast of Health Begins Inside. Today, I am here with Kimberly Shirk, and she is the owner and founder of the South Carolina Center of Integrative Medicine. So thanks so much for being with us today, Kim. We're so excited to launch this podcast, and I'm so thrilled that we're bringing education to the community.
Me too. This has been something we've been trying to get up and running for quite some time. And, life just gets busy sometimes. So we're making it a priority for 2025 to really reach out and educate our community and show our support to the community that supports us.
Absolutely. Well, let's dive into how this clinic became in existence. So tell me a little bit about your journey and what led you into integrative medicine and opening this clinic.
Yeah. So I've been a PA for 16 years, and I consider myself very fortunate in that I was introduced into functional medicine very early on in my career. So I spent some time in the traditional medical world, but I wasn't there for so long that I felt stuck. And so, I started learning probably early back in 2009.
That's very early.
Yeah, before functional medicine even had a name.
Absolutely.
We didn't have a word for it. We were just looking at, why people were getting sick and how could we fix it so that they got truly better and not just covered up the symptoms. Right. So I'm originally from New York. And so when I was practicing as a PA back in New York, I had a wonderful supervising doctor who was an acupuncturist and a craniosacral therapist and a pediatrician. So she was from Brazil and did all those modalities back home and then came to the United States and went to medical school. So she was very integrative. And she really mentored me in the very beginning and encouraged me to go out and to practice this way and to start a practice. So when we moved to South Carolina back in 2015, I just knew that this was my mission and this is what I was bringing to the area. So we opened South Carolina Center for Integrative Medicine in February of 2016. So we just celebrated our 9-year anniversary.
That's amazing. 9 years in this community.
Yeah, that's been wonderful.
That's great. Well, how about describing the mission of your clinic then? So what core values guide your work here?
Yeah. Our core value here is that we believe in the body's innate ability to heal itself. And when you provide the right tools and the right environment, that any medical condition can be reversed. The intelligent design in which we were created has everything that we need in order to heal. And sometimes you just don't know what that is and you need the tools.
Right.
And so it's my job to do the digging and to find those tools and figure out what the right thing is for each person and to allow their body to take over and heal.
That's great. So when we're looking at conventional versus integrative or holistic medicine, what are the key elements to your approach in healthcare?
Yeah, that's a good question. We know that we live in a toxic environment, right?
Absolutely.
And some of those toxins just can't be avoided. So it's a double approach, right? How do we detox the body and get those things out that are causing trouble? But then how do we create resilience in a body?
Very true.
So that they can live in a toxic world without consistently getting sick or need to do big detox processes just to stay well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when we look at integrative medicine, how would you define that in how we do our practice here?
Yeah, that's a good question because there are so many buzzwords now
Absolutely.
in the holistic industry. So holistic is a buzzword, functional medicine is a buzzword, but integrative medicine, I think, truly defines what we do. And to me, integrative medicine is taking the best of both worlds.
Absolutely.
Right? So we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like I really, truly appreciate my medical degree and the education that I got, because it gives me a whole different set of insights into people and how their disease is happening. But there's a lot to be said for herbalism and homeopathy and acupuncture, chiropractic, and all those other modalities. So how integrative medicine to me marries the two together and picks the best choices for each person,
right,
to give them the optimal chance to get better.
So it's more personalized.
100%.
Absolutely. Good. So talk to us about what type of training many of your practitioners have.
Yeah. So the cool thing about this type of medicine is that you can kind of navigate your own journey. And it's like individualized education as well. All of our providers have foundational medical education, right? So we have medical doctors, we have nurse practitioners, we have PAs in our practice. They're all board certified in their specialty. They have been through all the regular collegiate schools and passed their boards and are certified to practice medicine in the state of South Carolina. However, after that, where they learn functional and integrative medicine kind of is personalized and where they're specialized in. So like you, Megan, have been through IFM, which is a phenomenal program. So the Institute for Functional Medicine is the gold standard, right? For functional medicine and treating adults with chronic disease, IFM is where it's at. I also have been through a lot of the IFM training, but IFM came about 7 years after I had already been in clinical practice. And so many of the things that I was already doing, they were covering. And so I didn't feel the need to go back because I had already learned those things from mentors and other practitioners. And then there's tons and tons of weekend seminars that we attend, right? Absolutely. I think as functional medicine and integrative providers, we probably attend significantly more classes and seminars than standard medical providers do, because our field is expanding
very rapidly,
growing so fast. It's really hard to keep up. I mean, and if you're not doing those continuing educations and going to those conferences, you'll fall behind pretty quick.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that makes a difference in, when we're looking at functional practices, those providers or integrative practices, are they going and getting that education continually? Because it is an expanding field and we're learning things on a rapid fire basis. And so keeping up with the information,
what's going on,
it's like a fire hose.
It is. It is.
Okay, so great. And we kind of talked about how we're balancing both integrative and conventional medicine in this clinic, but do you have a success story of a patient that you would like to share?
Wow. Yeah, I have so many success stories.
Kind of like walking us through what the modality would be.
Yeah. The most important thing to anybody to starting out with any patient is listening to their story.
Yes.
Right.
That's where it all starts.
It does. And, the labs can be helpful, but we don't treat paper, right? We're treating people. And that's what is so integral about how we do what we do, is that the story really matters. And you can get so many clues from the story. And we always want to take you back to birth, right? I mean, because your mother's pregnancy with you and your childhood, how you developed and, how often you were sick and was there any trauma that happened? All of those things affect us as adults and our long-term health.
Absolutely.
So I think that's the key to really diving deep into somebody's healing journey. And
I like that you use the word journey.
Yeah.
Because it's not instant gratification of finding wellness right away, because we don't prescribe a pill.
Right.
We're looking at healing the body and it takes time. So it is a journey.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people get nervous when they have healed, right? Because they've been on a journey for so long that, we have many, many patients who are in what I consider a maintenance phase, right? They have detoxed whatever underlying issue was causing them a problem. They have, done elimination diets. They've healed their gut. They have detoxed their liver. They've done a gallbladder flush. I mean, all these things can be really helpful on the journey. And then they kind of get to a point where they're like, well, what now? Like, now you get to enjoy health, right? Now you just do what we consider maintenance.
Right. But they don't even know what that feels like because they've been sick for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say at least half of our patients at this point are on some type of maintenance protocol.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So speaking of like preventive medicine, that's something we kind of really focus on here. Yeah. So how do we get our patients more prevention? Like, what's your standpoint on that? How do we continue to provide that to our patients?
Yeah. Actually, I was just having this conversation today. It's a very common conversation, but the first thing we want to look at is family history, right? So if I have a patient who's a really strong family history of Alzheimer's and dementia, well, then their health preventative things are going to look very different than someone whose strong family history is cardiac disease or cancer. So again, it's hard to say because it's all individualized.
It's very personalized. Yeah.
But the key is to know the questions to ask. And then to allow the patient time to explain.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is why we deep dive into your health history and we ask tons of questions when you first arrive here. Yeah. And we have you do patient questionnaires because we want to know it all from birth to where you are now in life. Yeah. So, what role does patient education play in your clinic? I know we're really excited about this podcast.
Yeah.
But how do we try to empower our patients?
We have so many ways and everybody learns differently, right?
Sure.
So we have a myriad of handouts that we provide that have graphs and different types of pictures that portray what we're trying to get across as far as, healing the body or whatever we're focusing on. We have Sarah, who's our health coach, who's an amazing asset.
Absolutely.
On education and diet and exercise and all of those things.
Any of the lifestyle modifications.
Fantastic.
Which is the pillar of healthcare.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And then, I don't know about you, but I often spend the majority of my visit educating.
Yes.
The plan and the supplements or the treatment regimen only ends up being about a 5-minute discussion. The whole other 30 minutes is spent educating. And
how are you sleeping? What's your diet like? Yes. What are your bowel movements like? How can we improve your stress levels? It really is spending a lot of time on that component.
Yeah.
So, great. Well, I think that integrating this podcast is going to be just another piece, another advantage to our patients to be able to provide them with more education and more knowledge so they can take charge of their own healthcare.
Yeah.
And that's our goal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So looking forward to the vision of our practice, how do you see our practice evolving over the next few years? Because we're growing.
We have grown so much. And, when I think back over 9 years from where we were to where we've come, some years were better than others, right? There's always growing pains. There's always people come and people go. And, every person that's been here has had an impact on this practice. And I think that's important to recognize. But the team we have now is so special and so incredible that I can't even see what the limit looks like at this point.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really great. I think finding a space that is more conducive to our practice and how we work would be definitely one of those goals. Continuing our providers' knowledge base and, continuing to go to seminars. The thing I love about what we have that I think makes us special is that we have so many providers here that all have different specialties and different backgrounds. So we are able to collaborate and communicate with each other so easily. And it happens daily. I mean, I see it all the time. So it allows us just to provide a more well-rounded care for our patients.
Absolutely. I think we're always doing hallway consultations. Hey, I have this patient. How can we improve their health, and what is your intake on it? And so I love that we're able to be that dynamic as well for our patient care. So that's great. Well, This has been wonderful, and I'm super excited to get started with this podcast with you and continuing it. But next month, actually, we're going to go ahead and do it a little sooner than that, I believe. We're going to be doing a podcast on fad diets.
Yes.
And we will be featuring our health coach as well with us, Sarah. So we're really excited to introduce you to her as well if you haven't already met her.
Yes.
So we can get some information out there about all the fad diets that are out there and the health benefits and the health risks.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for our next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching us this go round. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
Have a great night.
That's it for today's episode of Health Begins Inside. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate your time and support. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend. Next time on Health Begins Inside, we're joined by our health coach, Sarah Williamson, and PA Kimberly Shirk for a deep dive into fad diets. Are they helpful or harmful? We'll weigh the risks and benefits so you can make the best choices for your health. You won't want to miss it. Until then, take care of yourself because true health begins inside. See you next time.